popcorn stuck in my hand, sandy feet in the movie stand, driving dream on a Saturday, projector glow on your sunburned face. Top 25 films of the 1960's. We don't need a list, just this big blue sea, rolling like credits on a...
Yeah, right on. With a mix of character-driven storytelling, The Great Escape shows you exactly how an action movie should feel. A movie star in every sense of the word, Steve McQueen drives this film, a highlight being his motorcycle escape, which he did almost all himself, using screen cutting that would later be used with the likes of Guy Ritchie or even Martin Scorsese. The Dirty Dozen is a gritty, submersive take on heroism. One of the first to embrace an extensively flawed hero. Led by Lee Marvin and Donald Sutherland, this film redefined the war film itself, turning a band of condemned soldiers into true heroes, known for its moral ambiguity and intensity. Utilizing both romance and brutality, Bonnie and Clyde soars onto the screen. Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway show how amazing their on-screen chemistry was, somehow getting you to both hate, laugh, and cry for these two anti-heroes, with amazingly stylish shots and the final brutal ending we all knew that was coming. Shockingly violent for its time. Mary Poppins isn't just a beloved film, but an absolute showcase for its two stars, Dick Van Dyke and Julie Andrews. Some of the most extravagant use of props and dance work ever put to screen. Julie Andrews is an all-out force in this movie. Also, one of the first films to mix Disney magic with real people. A true classic for all ages. In the Heat of the Night is a gripping blend of mystery and social commentary. Sidney Poitier is a revelation as Mr. Tibbs. This film stresses the importance of confronting racial injustice with intelligence, dignity, and quiet power. This movie is great because at its heart, it never forgets that it is indeed a mystery, and one doesn't have to sabotage the film in order to create a social message. Rod Steiger won Best Actor at the Academy Awards in 1967 for his portrayal of Sheriff Bill Gillespie. What do you get when you put together the Rat Pack and some of the biggest stars of the 1960s? The answer, Ocean's 11, is one of the original heist movies, setting a standard that would be parroted by countless others. The use of the Vegas backdrop with a stylish cast make this an absolute must-watch. One of the most important ingredients for a good heist movie is a little comedy, setting a frenetic pace with flashy storytelling and quick cuts. When pondering Ocean's 11, people often think of the George Clooney and Brad Pitt reboot that was done in the 2000s, but the original has a feel and style all to itself. The moral of the story, how far will you go for love or money or both? You could feel how fun it was to shoot that film. The Parent Trap is one of the first true tweener films. People of all ages gravitated to its story and sweet characters, while tapping into something that hasn't been talked about up until this point in film, divorce and separation, spawning multiple sequels and plenty of other films that steal its style and pace. A timeless tradition in many households and something that holds up even many years later. The child actor was a relatively small part of most films at this point. Easy Rider is a countercultural classic that became mainstream, with raw, beautiful imagery set to a fearless exploration of freedom. An already established Henry Fonda makes way for a new star in Jack Nicholson. Throw in a surly and slightly crazy Dennis Hopper, and you have an instant classic. Funny, with great action and amazing dialogue. and I can certainly dig it. Planet of the Apes starts as a stranger in a strange land and turns into a bleak look at a dystopian ape society. One of the first films to use a shock and awe ending, a society of apes who wind up making the same fatal mistakes that humans do. The original that spawned over 10 sequels over a 50-year period, later on rebooted into an equally exceptional franchise. Not to mention a career resurgence from Charlton Heston. Before The Naked Gun, Scary Movie, or National Lampoon, we had Inspector Clouseau, the first film to truly embrace a great script with a silly, silly premise. Blake Edwards, always known for his incomparable style, adds it here with the touch of Peter Sellers. If there is such a thing as pratfalls done stylishly, it would indeed be the Pink Panther. According to legend, Peter Sellers put his body through hell for these scenes. The comedy duo of Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon is the stuff of legend, with their penultimate connection being The Odd Couple, a movie so iconic it spawned a phrase for an unlikely duo. With the injection of a brilliant Neil Diamond script, I think my generation often refers to them as the Grumpy Old Men, when indeed they're really a comedy duo legend. One would think it would be impossible to live up to the standard that the literature of To Kill a Mockingbird brought to the table, but Gregory Peck, in his ultimate role, creates a style that is unmatched, in my opinion, setting the standard for the courtroom scene. A movie examined by film critics and literary scholars alike, taking a bold stance by using black and white to highlight the issues of the time period. Much like Cool Hand Luke himself, this is a rebellious and quiet masterpiece. The very definition of cool is Paul Newman, about one man's refusal to conform to a big authority. Luke gets many quick bursts of freedom in this film, but it proves to be an unattainable history, showing how some even prefer incarceration over freedom and how some value it more than anything on earth. I love you, Grandpa. This one's for you. Story centers around a con man, Harold Hill, played by Robert Preston, who in his usual shyster ways falls in love for the town of Gary, Indiana, and Marion, the librarian, played by a gorgeous Debbie Reynolds, with the song Trouble inspiring rap songs in the next 20 to 30 years, with beautiful sounds of the old big band swing days, and the utilization of its big stars make this one of the finest musicals ever produced, and what I wouldn't give to be running around my grandparents' living room singing the songs. A telltale sign you're watching a Hitchcock film is when he taps into the human condition through common fears, and The Birds does just that. What would happen if all the birds attacked? Sheer number and access to our world make us completely vulnerable, and Hitchcock crafts a stunningly visual masterpiece about that fear. There can only be one true first, and the first zombie film goes to Night of the Living Dead, a movie deemed so gory and horrifying at the time, it was banned from most theaters. George A. Romero's masterpiece establishes another first, and that is the first truly black hero as the lead of the film. Originally done as a cost-cutting maneuver and a way to stay below the MPAA rating, the use of black and white creates an ominous tone. No one besides Stanley Kubrick would have the guts to create Dr. Strangelove, a bleak look into modern politics and the possibility of war at any moment. Up until this point, the military was always shown as all-knowing, and that the decisions being made lack any sort of principle or moral fiber. Are we indeed under control or under a control? Peter Sellers shines again while playing three separate characters, showing his unmatched versatility and his supreme comic genius. The Sound of Music is another tour de force for for Julie Andrews, using a beautiful score from Rodgers and Hammerstein and songs that will last the test of time, anchored by Christopher Plummer's stoic performance and the children who play the Von Trapp family. A story good both on stage and off. A story that at its heart is about love and the resilience of a family. The good, the bad, and the ugly show a star was born in Clint Eastwood. The cinematography and direction, mwah. The gunfighting and stunt work, amazing. But even more is Ennio Morricone's beautiful rendition of the music of the Old West. The Graduate is led by iconic performances by Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft as the tantalizing Mrs. Robinson, a story of youthful alienation and rebellion. You can feel Dustin Hoffman's decisions crumbling around him. Mike Nichols uses sharp, subversive storytelling to create a quiet resolve. With the impulsivity of youth on display, it became a turning point in moral congruity in cinema moving forward, with the lines between hero and villain becoming terribly skewed, asking the question, how far would you go for young love? Rosemary's Baby explores the horrifying thought of, what if your child was the devil? A completely harrowing tale told almost solely by the performance of Mia Farrow. Her looks of disdain and horror haunt you throughout the film, as she now understands she was made for a darker purpose. Although you are acutely aware of the fate of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you can't help but notice how it never dims their charm. The chemistry between Paul Newman and Robert Redford is something to be seen, with a Western backdrop and a theme not unlike Thelma and Louise, showing their true love wasn't getting away, but it was the chase. Some refer to it as Hitchcock's masterpiece or the Godfather of horror, again focusing on humans' most vulnerable positions. Between the iconic shower scene, the stair fall, and the reveal of Mother, there is no short of scary moments. Big ups to Anthony Perkins for bringing Norman Bates to life and reminding us all that there's no one more important than a boy's mother. In Lawrence of Arabia, David Lean turns a vast desert landscape into a psychological epic. One can't help but be mesmerized by Peter O'Toole's steel blue eyes. It is an intimate portrait of identity, myth, and obsession at an absolutely breathtaking scale. That shows, when done right, a large Hollywood epic can be some of the best films ever made. And it is heralded by many as that such film, and 100% holds up. 2001: A Space Odyssey is indeed the film that started the careers of some of the most heralded directors of all time. It is, in short, Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, with crippling moments of silence and haunting imagery, redefining how we explore humanity, technology, and the infinite space. A film that boldly creates more questions than answers. A movie that screams for audience interpretation and has been for many decades. Quite possibly the best of all time.